I just think that Stonewall needed the grift to go on. And if you are non-binary in my class, you get a lollipop for being brave. What do you think the other kids are going to do?
TV's doing it. Everyone's over-sexualizing children in our country. It has to stop. Why do you think this started? So Stonewall started this in 2014. My take is 2014, we got gay marriage. There were no more fights for the LGB to have. And Stonewall went, oh dear, it's over. What am I going to do for a job? I've got a fantastic pension here. We need to carry on a fight just so I can stay in the position I'm in. And it seems to be an excuse to continue earning money on the back of social justice. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely, I agree with it. And also, look, how many, I believe there are still, 48 countries where homosexuality is illegal around the world?
Yeah.
Do these people, just...
About 20 where it's death penalty to be gay?
Well, exactly. Do gay rights sort of end at the borders of England? This surely should have been the next logical step, shouldn't it? Is to remain an LGBT charity and focus on rights for other people. No, they decided to focus on something that is no better or no worse. It's just very different. It's very, very different. We literally just got through an era of people thinking that all gay people dressed as women and put on lipstick and makeup. We just got rid of that. And now they brought it right back up. And if you've watched television recently, you'd never see a representation of a gay man. The closest I've seen to it was a lottery advert where two men won a lot. Do you remember that advert where the two men lost? They lost the lottery ticket and they grew old together, and then one found it, and at the end, and they'd aged them and everything. And it was the first thing I've seen in 10 years where you actually just saw a regular gay person. Now we've gone right back. People say to me, "Oh, but you played a stereotype back then." I said, "But they were different times. And I was in a cartoon. I was acting." I said, "Now I'm positively John Wayne compared to everyone on television now."
You are.
And this is real life. So I can't. I just think that Stonewall needed the grift to go on. And of course, look at if you make up 70 genders and you tell children this is real, if you tell kids non-binary is real, and if you are non-binary in my class, you get a lollipop for being brave, what do you think the other kids are going to do? They're going to want a lollipop too. This is just basic level common sense. And because this is now being pushed, of course, the grift is on fire. You get the children early enough, they'll believe what they're told. This is the biggest grievance I have with them, is what they've done to a generation of children. And to undo this, I just think, my God, it's going to take a while.
I think it is. And I think that was the bridge they never should have crossed, was engaging with children. As a gay man, you would have known in the 80s, it was quite common for people to say gay men are pedophiles, there was already those myths already there. And suddenly, in the last 5 years, it's now acceptable for half-naked men dressed as women to shake fake dildos in their butts in the faces of 7-year-old girls at school while reading a book of a birthday party. And you remember about 4 years ago, there was a library that hired a 6-foot rainbow monkey with a 12-inch dildo hanging between its legs to read books to children. And it's like, I don't mind you dressing up as Dr. Zeus to read books. I don't mind you dressing up as a pirate to read books, of a wizard, and let's read a J.K. Rowling book. I don't mind you dressing up, but why does it always have to be sexual? What's this new thing about sexualizing children? And it's not just the LGBT. We're doing it as a society as well. We're over-sexualizing children all the time. Parents are doing it. TV's doing it. Everyone's over-sexualizing children in our country. It has to stop.
I agree. But I think, you have a generation that's grown up on
Access to porn, yeah.
and access to not just porn. I mean, when we grew up, what was it? We had Hustler magazine, we had Reader's Wives on the top shelf, and that was about as much as you get, or finding something, in a hedge. But
why did we always find dirty magazines in hedges? Because once you said that, I remember finding them.
It is true. They would always find them on the roadside, Razzle or something. I think I mean, this is having something like this. It was fine when it was just a telephone. It was fine when it just took pictures. But this is not what it is anymore. It's a full computer that you walk around. It's an untested experiment, and we're now reaping the benefits of something that was totally untested. And people are going, "Oh my God, do you think we should have given children computers?" Well, duh, no, you bloody well shouldn't have. So we're now finding out that kids know a lot about sex. So these people are saying, well, children have got to know about sex. So, I'm teaching them about LGBT matters. So if I'm as a drag queen, all I'm doing is teaching them. No, that's not how it works. Number one, if you're going to teach people about about ordinary gay people, then they're not usually drag queens for a start. Children could sit there, like you said, and watch anything read out a thing. You have to ask yourself, why is it drag queens, and why is it always with an agenda? Oh, Billy can be trans, my gay granddad. I mean, these are all real books. I mean, why? And they say, oh, it's not brainwashing, it's not indoctrination. I'm sorry, you cannot find me a clearer picture of indoctrination. And what is this doing? This isn't teaching children about tolerance or understanding. They know, people know that, they'll grow up to know gay people exist. I mean, that's not that's not the level. It's putting in a totally subversive, it's the end product of queer theory is to tear down every single boundary that there is at the moment. You cannot unfuse gender ideology and queer theory. They are inextricably bound. And the end result is to tear down every boundary that exists. That's the end result. And of course, what they're doing is, it's almost like in plain sight, oh, we'll make it look so innocent. What's wrong with a drag queen? How does it hurt having a drag queen? That's not the issue. The point is what they're teaching and how they're teaching it. And, you've got children as young as 4 given pride flags and told to wave them. And with great big pride flags up in the school team, you've got to say to yourself, what's going on here? Thankfully, a lot of people are saying what is going on here at the moment. But I fear the damage for a generation is already done.
You mentioned something just then that most people never heard of, and that's queer theory. When people say LGBTQ, I ask them, what does Q stand for? They go queer. And what does queer stand for? Oh, gay. Well, if it stands for gay, what's a G for at the beginning of it? Oh, I don't know. And I say, queer theory. I had a conversation yesterday with 2 of my family members. One is a very successful solicitor, and the other one is a nurse. And they're talking about their LGBT, blah, 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 at work, and, and I said, do you understand what Q means? They went, no. So I told them, and both of them were shocked. Both of them got their phones out and Googled it because they thought I was winding them up. So queer theory, as you said, is about breaking down barriers, because all barriers we have in society were created by humans. And every time we have a barrier, it's there to keep someone out or to keep someone under control. And that's oppression. And we'd all be much better living in the world if we had no rules and no structure, and we lived like animals. We'd all be happier. Now, one of the main ones, you're right, one of the main ones is the relationship between adults and children. In this country, we said the age is 16 for sex. Sorry, 16 for sex. And people will argue why we pick that. Children at 13, 14 can consent to sex. They're developed. And these people are trying to push those boundaries all the time. This isn't a new thing. We had PI in the 1970s, the Paedophile Information Exchange, who wanted to reduce the age of consent in this country to 3 years old. And that was a mainstream organization. It applied for and got government grants to lobby government and lobby MPs. We've been here before, and queer theory is one of those critical theories you can study at university. This isn't nutcases online. This is an academic discipline, queer theory. You need to look at it. If you're watching this, it will shock you what they want.
Yeah, you only have to read about, just to name a few, Michel Foucault. You have to read about what John Money, and if you can make head nor tail of it, read Judith Butler, who all push this gender nonsense. But just read about what they say. It's far too huge a subject to cover with a few sound bites from me. But it's worth looking at the origins and how all this came about. And there are so many examples of really quite nefarious thinking going on there. But ultimately, it does boil down to the removal of all boundaries of, and it's interesting you bringing up pi. The difference between now and then is the fact that the gay community actively fought back against pi and made sure that they were not associated in any way with what pi was trying to do. The difference now is that you have the LGBT who say very little on what is the equivalent now, the MAP community, the minor attracted persons community. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, they're not part of us, they're not part of us. And yet every single day I see examples of people identifying as a MAP and identifying as being part of the LGBTQ community. And that's the problem, is it is inextricably linked, as is zoophilia. That is also now the furry community. That is also now part of the LGBTQ. And you've got a lot of people. The trouble is the further you keep extending the LGBT, you might as well get rid of it altogether, because basically queer now means straight. I mean, you've got people like Tilda Swinton who are in a heterosexual relationship calling themselves queer. I'm living my queer lived experience. But what does it mean? It used to stand for questioning. Don't know where that went. Now they want to call us all the queer community. Well, a lot of us were brought up, that being the last word you heard before getting your head kicked in. So forgive us if there's a whole generation of gay people out there who do not wish to be called queer. And this is the thing, is we're told, don't misgender us, don't do this, you are this, and yet they insist on calling us queer, they insist on calling us cisgender, as if there has to be an alternative to you. I mean, if you're a trans person, you're a trans person. Doesn't mean you have to give something else, other people a name. You're just a man, you're a woman. But this is what they're trying to do, is it's not only breaking down boundaries, it's breaking down the language. It's trying to render language and definitions meaningless. Because the moment they can render definitions and language meaningless, they can make anything make sense. And you can try and unpick it as much as you like, but it's really rather like playing chess with a pigeon, isn't it? A lobotomized pigeon, because they'll just move the pieces, because they'll say, but don't you know what cis means? It comes from Latin. Yes, we all know that, but it doesn't mean, in its context, it's meaningless. So we're at a very, very dangerous point in time. I really think so. And I'm amazed. What truly amazes me are the people that I used to hang out with, who, let's say, a lot of them were now quite well-known voices of the gay and lesbian community, who are absolutely complicit with this and who refuse to say anything. And will say one thing in public, like, I don't agree with this, that, and the other, and say a totally separate thing in private, because I think they've seen how people have been treated Again, it boils down to a moral coward,
Cowardice.
a cowardice, and I understand, people need to put food on the table, and I understand people need to work, especially in these times, where things are extremely tight. I get that. But at some point, you have to take a stand, because we are at critical mass, I believe, at the moment. As you said yourself, there is a whole world of people out there who don't know about these different things that are going on, because it's just not spoken about.
Have you lost friends over this?
Not good friends. No. I've lost acquaintances. I've lost colleagues. I've lost people, but I've always said exactly the same thing. I believe now what I believed 10 years ago. I believe 10 years ago what I believed 10 years before that. If we were talking about something that was definitely proven, or science had suddenly said, well, actually, well, okay, but they have not. And I don't know about you, but I tend to listen to people like Lord Robert Winston, who says definitively that you cannot change your sex, and then and I believe him, and as he said, he'll get tons of abuse for saying it, and he did. But now they're moving the goalpost by saying, "Oh well, nobody said we were actual women."
Yeah.
And so the goalposts are constantly being moved around. It's very difficult to to fight this battle honestly. You kind of, because how do you deal with people who lie the entire time?
Oh yeah, I mean, you've seen the videos of men in dresses online holding the stomachs and saying, "I'm having my first period," and it's like, no, you're not. And if you're passing blood, I advise you go to A&E, because there's something seriously wrong with you, mate.
Listen, I don't want to make this all about attacking, and neither do you, I'm sure, because there are a lot of. I've known transsexual people since the 80s, and I still have transsexual friends to this day who are absolutely horrified at what's been done in their name, and actually are caught in the middle of this, because there's an extreme side that doesn't like them, and will, even if they say, "I never use women's spaces," and they are attacked. And so they're caught in the middle of this, and it's been co-opted by what we used to call transvestites, who were predominantly heterosexual and wanted absolutely nothing to do with the gay people. The Beaumont Society, for example, the first transsexual group, made it very, very clear they wanted nothing to do with gay men. They weren't gay, nothing. And so this entire thing has been hijacked by the omni cause. You'll now find that if you go to an LGBTQ plus rally, you will see a mixture of flags. The Antifa flag, the Palestine flag, the trans flag, it's an omni cause.